The story begins at a dark and dangerous moment for humanity, when space itself feels heavy with fear and loss, because the Carnathy Dominion, an old and powerful alien empire, has returned to attack human space once again, and this time their fleet is larger, colder, and more determined than ever, moving like a wall of black metal through the stars, destroying everything in its path. While human colonies burn and ships fall apart in silent explosions, and at the edge of known space, near the broken region called the Orion Drift, the last human defense fleet is being pushed to its limits, with damaged ships drifting helplessly and crews fighting not just the enemy but despair itself. As alarms scream across command bridges and red warning lights reflect on tired faces, and Admiral Reyes watches the tactical display knowing the truth she does not want to speak out loud, that her fleet is outnumbered, outgunned, and almost out of time, because the Carnathy planet killer weapons are charging, and once they fire, entire worlds will be erased, ending millions of lives in seconds. And even though humanity has fought bravely for years, this moment feels like the end. Until something strange appears on the sensors, something old and forgotten. A massive shape hidden in dust and frozen wreckage, drifting silently like a ghost, and when the data scrolls across the screen, disbelief spreads through the bridge because the ship has a name from legend. The HCS Prometheus, humanity's first deep space titan, a vessel built in an age when humans were bold and reckless, when safety rules were few and dreams were big, a ship made to push beyond limits, which vanished 117 years ago on its first mission and was declared lost forever, turning into a story told to young cadets and engineers as a warning and a dream at the same time. And now, in the worst moment possible, it has been found again, silent, powerless, and broken, but still massive and full of promise. And while most officers see it as a dead relic, Admiral Reyes sees something else, a final chance. And she orders that a mechanic be sent aboard, not a hero or a soldier, but someone who understands machines the way humans understand stubborn hope. And that is how Jacques Calder enters the story. A simple human mechanic with worn gloves and a patched suit, floating through the dark interior of the Prometheus, surrounded by frozen air, broken wires, and metal that has not felt warmth in over a century. And as he moves deeper into the ship, he feels the weight of time pressing on him, knowing that generations have lived and died since this vessel last breathed. Yet he also feels something familiar because to him, broken machines are not dead, just waiting. And as outside the Carnathy fleet closes in and the countdown to destruction continues, Jacques reaches the heart of the ship, the ancient reactor chamber, where old systems sleep behind dust and rust. And despite the silence, he speaks to the ship as if it can hear him, because humans often treat tools like friends when no one else is listening and when the controls do not respond. When screens stay dark and power refuses to flow, he does not stop, because humans rarely accept the first answer they are given, and instead he opens panels, reroutes systems, bypasses safety locks that no longer matter, and manually forces energy into pathways that were never meant to be touched after shutdown, and slowly, painfully, the Prometheus begins to wake. Lights flicker like tired eyes opening after a long sleep. Engines groan deep inside the hull and across space. Sensors light up with impossible readings, shocking the human fleet and alerting the Carnathy that something they thought dead has returned. And this moment becomes the turning point of the story because it shows the heart of humanity, not through strength or numbers, but through refusal to give up. Through a single mechanic choosing to fight time itself, standing alone in a frozen ship while the fate of entire worlds hangs in the balance, proving that even when hope is buried under 117 years of silence, a human hand can still reach out and pull it back into the light. After Jacques Calder manages to get the Prometheus systems to respond, the story moves into a tense and electrifying phase where the true scale of human ingenuity and determination is revealed. Because what began as a fragile hope quickly transforms into a desperate fight for survival as the Carnathy fleet notices the ancient ship stirring to life and immediately reacts with aggression, sending waves of black, sleek fighters to test the Prometheus and its human mechanic pilot. While back on the human command bridge, Admiral Reyes watches with a mix of disbelief and cautious hope as the sensors confirm what no one thought possible. The Prometheus, silent for 117 years, is active again, its massive hull glowing faintly with power and long-dormant weapons beginning to hum. And Jacques, deep inside the ship, realizes that bringing a Titan to life is not as simple as flipping switches, because centuries of neglect, corrosion, and dead circuits create challenges that require not only skill but imagination and instinct. And he must think faster than any computer or automated system could, tracing broken power lines, manually reconnecting the reactor conduits, and improvising connections with parts that were never meant to interact, all while warning alarms flash and internal temperatures spike. And as he works, he mutters to himself, encouraging the ship as if it were alive, knowing that humans and machines share a stubborn will to survive, and gradually, tiny sparks of energy begin to surge through the Prometheus core. Lights flicker to life in the ancient corridors, and the reactor hums, filling the interior with a deep, vibrating sound that seems to echo through the hull, a sound almost like a heartbeat, signaling that the ship is awakening. And when the first thrusters fire, pushing centuries of dust and debris into space, it is a moment of triumph, yet the danger has not passed, because the Carnathy fighters immediately react with volleys of energy beams and missiles, striking the Prometheus shields, which flare under attack, their surfaces glowing bright orange as they hold just long enough to show the enemy that the ship is not defenseless. And on the human fleet's sensors, they see the impossible happen. The ancient weapons bays of the Prometheus begin to open, releasing missiles, energy cannons, and guns designed in an age of raw human audacity. Weapons that are crude by modern standards but lethal. And when the Prometheus fires its first shot in over a century, the beam slices cleanly through a Carnathy cruiser, splitting it apart in a display of terrifying power, and the human crews, watching through the comms, erupt in cheers, feeling their hope restored. Yet Jacques knows that this is only the beginning, because as the Prometheus fights, its systems resist full control, old safety protocols clash with modern commands, and the ship seems almost to assert its own will, demanding precise timing, courage, and intuition to keep it from tearing itself apart. And when swarms of enemy fighters press close, cutting into the hull with missiles and boarding drones, Jacques is thrown against walls, sustaining injuries, but still refuses to stop, knowing that the Prometheus cannot be left weak, because humanity's survival depends on it. And he continues to reroute energy manually, override ancient processors, and force weapons online in sequences that were never intended to be used together, improvising strategies on the fly in a way that no AI could replicate, demonstrating the unique human ability to adapt, to create solutions from chaos, and to face overwhelming odds without surrendering. And the Prometheus responds to his guidance, its thrusters burning hotter, its shields flickering with renewed strength, and its weapons firing in patterns that confuse and destroy the enemy, sending Carnathy ships tumbling into each other in collisions, explosions lighting the void. And yet, as the battle rages, the greatest threat emerges in the form of the Carnathy flagship, a vessel of unimaginable size and firepower that moves directly toward the Prometheus, charging its main cannon in a way that could obliterate both ships and annihilate the human fleet. And Admiral Reyes realizes that even the awakened Titan cannot simply fight everything alone. That Jax may be humanity's last hope to act decisively, and as the flagship's weapon glows, ready to fire, Jax studies the reactor readings, calculating, improvising, and knowing that he has only one chance to prevent total destruction. And in that moment, he accepts that extreme risk is necessary, that humans are defined by courage in the face of impossible choices, and that he is willing to risk everything because survival and hope are worth every danger. And finally, with a grim smile and a calm that belies the chaos around him, he prepares to take the necessary step that could turn the tide of the battle, demonstrating the raw, audacious, and unyielding spirit of humanity, proving that even against a technologically superior enemy, ingenuity, determination, and a refusal to give up can awaken legends and rewrite the course of a conflict. And this part of the story ends on a high note of suspense and tension, with the Prometheus fully alive, firing back, surviving near-impossible attacks, and Jax standing as the living embodiment of human courage and creativity. A mechanic who has brought a dead ship back to life and is ready to face the ultimate test as the enemy flagship looms closer, setting the stage for the climactic showdown that will determine the fate of humanity itself. The story reaches its climactic and most intense stage as the Prometheus, fully awakened by Jax Calder's relentless skill and determination, faces the overwhelming might of the Carnathy flagship, a vessel that dwarfs every other ship in the fleet and radiates power that could crush entire planets. And as it charges its devastating main weapon, the tension rises across the human fleet, which watches with a mixture of awe, fear, and hope, knowing that their survival hangs by a thread while Jax, battered and bloodied from the earlier battles inside the Prometheus, braces himself for the impossible task of controlling a reactor and weapon system that is both centuries old and extraordinarily complex. A ship that seems to have a mind of its own, requiring not just technical skill but intuition, courage, and the human ability to improvise under extreme pressure. And as the Carnathy flagship's main cannon begins to glow, signaling a blast capable of obliterating both the Prometheus and everything nearby, Jax makes a deliberate choice, one that combines genius and raw instinct, to take full manual control of the reactor, overriding all safety protocols and pushing the engines, shields, and weapons to their absolute limits, knowing full well that this could destroy him, the ship, or both, but also realizing that inaction guarantees humanity's destruction. And as the Prometheus races toward the flagship, the engines burning hotter than they have in 117 years, shields flaring under immense stress, and weapons firing in desperate sequences, Jax coordinates an attack that is equal parts strategy and courage, releasing a combination of missiles, energy beams, and the raw force of the ship's kinetic power as it rams straight into the heart of the enemy. And the collision is cataclysmic, a blinding explosion that tears through the flagship, sending shockwaves across space and scattering the remaining Carnathy ships, many of which are destroyed or forced to retreat. And the Prometheus itself shudders violently under the strain, HULL plates bending and twisting, fires igniting in multiple compartments, alarms screaming throughout the corridors, yet it holds together, guided by Jax's unyielding hand, who refuses to abandon the ship even when every system screams of warnings of imminent failure. And as the human fleet watches in disbelief and relief, cheering even as their own ships bear scars from the ongoing battle, they witness a moment that will be remembered across generations. A human mechanic, alone and unarmed by traditional standards, has turned a lost ship into a weapon of hope, using courage, ingenuity, and sheer will to stand against a superior alien force. And the Carnathy, stunned by the audacity and effectiveness of the Prometheus, ceased their attack, sending a message requesting negotiations. A recognition that humanity is no longer a species to be easily destroyed, because the courage and adaptability of humans have proven that even old machines can become instruments of power and symbols of defiance, when paired with a mind willing to challenge fate. And in the aftermath, the surviving human fleet tends to the wounded and damaged vessels, while Jacques, exhausted and injured, walks through the corridors of the Prometheus, touching consoles and panels that have not been touched in over a century, feeling the ship respond to his presence as if it remembers the life he forced back into it. And in that quiet aftermath, the enormity of what has been achieved settles in. The Carnathy Armada is broken, humanity is alive. And the legend of the Prometheus has grown even greater because it was not only a vessel of war but a testament to the human spirit, the ability to face impossible odds, to create solutions from chaos, to fight with courage and intelligence where others would surrender. And as messages spread across colonies and fleets, people begin to understand a simple truth about humanity, that humans do not always rely on strength or technology alone, but on the stubbornness, creativity, and indomitable will that defines them. That even after 117 years of silence, a human hand can awaken a dead ship and turn it into a savior. And the Prometheus itself becomes a symbol of resilience, carrying not only weapons but the history and pride of humanity forward, a reminder to allies and enemies alike that humans are capable of extraordinary feats when faced with the impossible, and that courage, ingenuity, and determination can change the course of wars and legends. And in the quiet moments after the battle, when fires are put out and damaged systems are repaired, Admiral Reyes and the fleet commanders honor Jacques' sacrifice and the ship's incredible performance, realizing that what happened will be told and retold as proof that humanity is not defined solely by numbers or technology, but by the heart and mind of individuals who refuse to give up. And in the years that follow, the Prometheus stands as both a monument and a warning. A ship that was lost and returned, a machine that was silent for more than a century and then roared back to life through human will, forever changing the way the galaxy perceives the human race, and leaving behind a lesson that echoes in every spaceport, every academy, and every fleet across human-controlled space. That resilience, courage, and ingenuity are weapons no enemy can truly measure. That the bond between humans and their creations can defy time and expectation. And that when humans face the impossible, they rise, they fight, and they endure, leaving a mark on the universe that no force, no matter how powerful, can erase. And in this way, the story closes with humanity victorious, the Prometheus a living legend, and Jacques Calder remembered not only as a mechanic but as the embodiment of what it means to be human, stubborn, clever, courageous, and unyielding in the face of overwhelming odds.